The woman my husband Mark brought with him was clearly pregnant. Her belly was unmistakably large. My mother-in-law, Michelle, looked completely stunned. Mark smirked. Was he always the type to smile so cruelly? When we first met, he wasn't this unreasonable. Hey, just to confirm, the baby in this woman's belly is.
Yeah, it is. My kid? What is she now? 9 months pregnant?
Your kid? Seriously?
I said it is, didn't I? Now get lost, you defective, infertile loser.
His mistress grinned, clearly enjoying the moment. Mark is one thing, but this woman is just as bad. What a terrible personality. It's obvious she's relishing the situation. It looks like I'll have to put an end to this for both Mark and this woman. He probably thinks I don't know anything. But the truth is, I know far more than Mark could ever imagine. That's fine, but you won't be the father, because that baby in her belly. The confident smirk vanished from Mark's face. He looked shocked by my words. Even his mistress turned pale. The tables had turned. I was now in control. I decided to reveal her secret to the stunned Mark. My name is Rachel. I'm 31 years old. I work in an office at a company that deals with all kinds of vinyl products. I reconnected with Mark, a college classmate, about 3 years ago through work.
Hey, is that you, Rachel? I didn't know you worked here.
Mark? It's been a while. Mark and I were in the same college band club. We started dating, and about 6 months later, we got married. Mark had already lost his father to illness, while I had no mother. She passed away in a traffic accident on her way to work when I was very young. Michelle, my mother-in-law, was very kind and treated me like her own daughter, filling the void of a mother's warmth that I had never known.
Rachel, I look forward to a long and happy life together.
Yes, Michelle, I look forward to it too. Thus began our happy married life. But the only time there were no complaints was in the beginning. Soon, Mark started causing me a lot of heartache. The issue we faced as a couple. It was the struggle to have children. Even after 2.5 years of marriage, I still couldn't get pregnant.
That's odd. We've been trying.
Yeah, maybe we should get a thorough checkup. For women under 30, the infertility rate is less than 10%. I thought I might be part of that 10% and decided to get tested. The results came back with no issues. The female doctor at the clinic even gave me a glowing report. So I suggested that Mark get tested next.
Don't be ridiculous. A friend of mine said that 90% of infertility issues are on the woman's side. I've always been healthy, so there's no way there's a problem with me. There's no point in getting tested.
He flat out refused to get tested. Prejudice about infertility. Arrogant attitude. Childish reasoning. I was completely exasperated with Mark's lack of cooperation and selfishness. And to make matters worse, he kept pestering me about having kids.
Smith, one of my coworkers, got married around the same time as us, and now they're expecting their second kid. What the heck are you doing? Get it together.
Don't act like it's all my fault. You haven't even gone to get tested. Arguments between us became more frequent. Our relationship grew more and more strained until we eventually stopped talking altogether. Obviously, in such a situation, there was no way we could work on having kids. That's when Mark's reckless behavior started to increase. He began spending more money and staying out late. He says he's busy with work, but I'm not sure if that's true. Since there's been almost no change in his pay stubs, I'm pretty sure he's lying. What caught my attention was that Mark suddenly started taking care of his appearance a lot more. It was like when we first started dating, he was paying extra attention to how he looked. Hey, just to be clear, you're not cheating on me, are you?
What? Of course not. How could you even think that? Use your head a little.
This man is definitely cheating. In that brief moment before he answered, I knew it for sure. Who is she? How old is she? How long have they been seeing each other? Days? Months? The more I thought about it, the angrier I got. I didn't care about anything anymore. And as I let it go, Mark's selfish behavior only escalated. Enough already. Stop wasting money.
What do you mean wasting money? What are you talking about?
You used our card to buy women's clothes and shoes. I checked the statements, you know.
So what? Stop acting like a stalker.
You think I'm a stalker? What wife wouldn't be concerned about what her husband is buying on their card? At the very least, I care. Especially if he might be spending it on another woman. Maybe he didn't like being called out so harshly. Before long, Mark practically stopped coming home altogether. Mark has completely lost respect for me. No matter how much I tell him, he doesn't listen. So I decided to talk to Michelle about it. I made an appointment and visited her alone at her house. Michelle listened, nodding as I told her about her son's bad behavior. When I finished, Michelle apologized sincerely.
I'm so sorry about Mark, Rachel. I must have raised him wrong somehow.
Michelle, please lift your head. You're not to blame. I had no intention of blaming Michelle. The one at fault is Mark himself, who suddenly changed his attitude and became arrogant. He's an adult now. He should know better. When I said this, Michelle let out a big sigh.
Well, I hate to say it, but Mark must have taken after his father. They both have a habit of reckless spending. In that case, let's call him here and talk to him directly.
True to her word, Michelle immediately called Mark. He must have known what was coming. When Mark finally arrived, the look on his face was anything but pleasant.
Mark, you've been making Rachel miserable. Are you even sorry? Tell me what you've been spending money on.
It doesn't matter. It's none of your business, Mom.
Of course, it's my business.
Well, this is so annoying. Just leave me alone.
Mark left, clearly fed up. Afterward, Michelle suggested I look into what Mark has been up to. If he won't talk, we'll find out ourselves, she said. Honestly, I had already been planning to do that before Michelle even mentioned it. I hired a professional to find out what Mark was doing behind my back. I was prepared to accept whatever truth might be revealed. It turns out that when she was younger, Michelle had also hired an investigator to look into her late husband's activities. It was shortly after they got married, and the investigation revealed that he was cheating. Michelle said her husband was quite shocked when she mentioned the mistress by name.
He never thought I knew everything. He was really surprised. It was quite satisfying at the time.
I have a feeling I'm in a similar situation. It's just a hunch, but I'm pretty sure Mark is cheating. He doesn't seem to be trying very hard to hide it. That's what's really unsettling. What's Mark thinking? In any case, gathering evidence now could be useful later. I took Michelle's advice and hired the detective agency she recommended to investigate Mark. Of course, the results were exactly what I expected. Mark was indeed cheating. He hadn't been coming home because he was living in the house of his mistress. I decided to have them investigate the mistress next. A few weeks later, Michelle contacted me. Mark was planning to visit his family's house next week.
For whatever reason, he said he wants to come home his father's anniversary. Also, he mentioned wanting to introduce someone to me.
Thank you for letting me know, Michelle. May I come too? I'd like to talk to Mark directly.
Of course, if there's anything I can do to help, just say the word. No matter what Mark says, I'm on your side, Rachel.
Thank you so much, Michelle. The person Mark wants to introduce to Michelle. It's easy to guess who it is. It's his mistress. Mark is probably planning to divorce me and marry her. He likely wants to introduce her first and, if necessary, win Michelle over to their side. Now that I knew his plan, I had to prepare my own countermeasures. I quickly got in touch with someone and arranged for them to assist in my plan. The weather on the day was stormy. The sky seemed to reflect the turbulent times ahead. When I arrived at my in-laws' house, there was an unfamiliar compact car in the driveway. It matched the description in the detective's report. It had to be Mark's mistress's car. As soon as I opened the front door, I heard Michelle's voice from the living room, scolding Mark. He must have done something truly outrageous. I hurried toward them.
What on earth are you thinking? Don't you feel any remorse for what you've done to Rachel?
Why should I? She's the one who can't have kids. Oh, Rachel, you're here too? Did Mom call you? We were just talking about you.
It's been a while, Mark, and sitting next to Mark was a woman who looked to be around the same age as us. She was dressed flamboyantly, with bright colored hair. Her appearance was the complete opposite of mine. She glanced at me and smiled smugly. What an awful smile.
As you can see, this is Mark's mistress. What was your name again? How about a proper introduction?
Nice to meet you. I'm Emily, and I've been seeing Mark. You must be Rachel. Perfect timing. There's something I'd like to give you. Right, Mark?
Oh, that's right. Here you go. I've already signed my part.
What she handed me was divorce papers. Emily's smug expression was infuriating. She was confident that she'd win no matter what. That confidence was written all over her face. And the source of that confidence? It had to be her belly. Emily was clearly pregnant, her belly quite large. Noticing my gaze, Emily smiled. Mark reached over and gently caressed her belly, looking at it lovingly. Just to be clear, the baby in her belly is.
Yeah, it's mine. What is it now? 9 months?
Your kid? Really?
Yeah, that's what I said. Now get lost, you defective infertile loser.
Emily grinned, clearly enjoying herself. Mark is one thing, but Emily is just as bad. What an appalling personality. It's obvious she's having fun with this situation. It looks like I'll have to put both Mark and Emily in their place. Come to think of it, Mark is quite a pitiful man. He probably thinks I came here unaware of everything. But the truth is, I know far more than Mark could ever imagine. Fine, but you won't be the father, because that baby in her belly isn't yours.
What the hell are you talking about? That's impossible. Right, Emily?
Of course. Stop saying weird stuff. Oh, I get it. You're just jealous. You can't have kids. So you're envious of my big belly, huh?
Say whatever you want. There's nothing wrong with me. If there's a problem, it's with you, Mark. The confidence drained from Mark's face. He looked shocked by my blunt statement. I decided to reveal Emily's secret to the stunned Mark. The baby she's carrying isn't yours. It's David Miller's. Isn't that right, Emily?
What? How? How do you?
She was wondering why I knew that fact. Or maybe she's wondering why David's name is being mentioned. Seeing Emily's stunned expression, Mark looked just as bewildered. The fact that I mentioned a specific name made my words all the more credible, leaving them both visibly shaken. Surprised that I know about David? You've been married to him for about 4 years now, right? Do you really think it's okay to betray him like this?
Who's David? I don't know anyone by that name.
Pretending not to know? You really think that's going to work? Unbelievable. You still don't understand your situation, do you? I pulled out some documents from my bag. They were the results of the investigation I had conducted. As I began reading the facts aloud, the color drained from Emily's face. Emily Miller, 31 years old, originally from Texas, moved to New York for college, took out a loan for plastic surgery and started working at a club, dropped out of college. Quite the example of a downward spiral, huh? You met David at that club, didn't you? Isn't that how you met Mark, too?
What the hell? How dare you snoop into my life like that? This is insane.
Isn't it normal to want to know more about the person involved in your husband's affair? Besides, you just admitted that everything I said is true, didn't you? Want me to keep reading?
Stop it. Just stop.
Emily was clearly upset. This reaction is more than enough. It was as good as admitting that everything I said was true. Mark stared blankly at Emily's profile, unable to process the fact that he had been deceived.
This can't be true. It's not true, right, Emily? You're married? That's not right, is it? We're getting married, aren't we?
I don't know what lies she's been feeding you, but it's time you woke up, Mark. This woman has a history of deceiving men, taking as much money as she can, and then disappearing.
Stop saying such awful things. Mark, you can't believe a word she says. She's lying about everything. She's the real liar here.
Yeah, but then why are you so flustered? Is it because you have something to hide? Because Rachel is telling the truth? What's going on?
Poor Mark. He hasn't realized that he was just being played. After investigating Emily, I learned just how malicious she really was, and it made me sick to my stomach. This woman loves to manipulate men and bend them to her will. She's a wicked woman who always needs a man who's convenient to satisfy her desires. A guy who's fairly good-looking, makes decent money, loves to party, but isn't too bright.
This woman is just trying to break us apart. She's making things up. I mean, come on. She has no proof. But we have this baby, our love child, Mark. Please, just believe me.
Love child? You know exactly whose baby you're really carrying. I showed Mark and Emily a photo. It was part of the evidence gathered by the investigator. The photo showed Emily entering an obstetric clinic, accompanied by a tough-looking man with a strong build. It's David Miller. You regularly visit the clinic like this with your husband. I have plenty of other photos if you'd like to see them.
How dare you? Stop sneaking around taking pictures of me.
Emily looked like she was ready to pounce on me. She must be furious that her scheme has been exposed. Ignoring her, I turned to the still stunned Mark. Mark, you might be infertile. If there's no issue on my side, then it's likely the problem lies with you. Just once, go get tested.
But, I'm so healthy.
There are plenty of people who are healthy but still infertile. I think it's time you face reality, Mark. But honestly, I don't care anymore. I have the divorce papers in my hand. Once I submit these to the courthouse, my relationship with Mark is over. Even if he was deceived by Emily, I have no intention of getting back together with him. He disrespected and belittled me. Defective, infertile loser. Well, good riddance. I'm ready to divorce Mark and start a new life. But before that, Emily, tell the truth. I want to hear it from you.
The truth?
Yes, how you met Mark, why you targeted him, and what your plans are moving forward. Specifically, when and how you plan to break up with him. Emily's expression grew tense. No matter how long I waited, she refused to speak. So I decided to speak for her. The club your friend runs is your hunting ground, Emily. You find your prey there, get close to them, and size them up. Their background, history, income, problems. You extract all kinds of information.
Stop it. Don't act like you were there watching.
Am I lying? No, I'm not. It's all true. You've been exploiting men like this since you were 18. Is it your father's influence that you can't commit to just one person? He was quite the playboy, wasn't he? Made life hell for you and your mom.
How much do you know? Stop it already.
There was no trace of confidence left on Emily's face. Her bloodshot eyes, tears welling up, half-open mouth, and heavy breathing. She looked at me like a cornered animal. This pregnancy is likely a turning point for Emily as well. For the sake of the baby, she needs to atone for her past sins. Meeting David was probably your last chance, wasn't it, Emily? A man like him, with his looks and income, isn't going to come around again. So you married him and got pregnant.
That's a lie. Emily, it's a lie, isn't it?
But you couldn't quit your habit of playing around with men, even after nearly a decade. That's when you set your sights on Mark as your final prey. Isn't that right? Suddenly, all expression vanished from Emily's face. There was a determined look in her eyes, like she was ready to fight back. Emily picked up the evidence photos from the table and laughed dismissively.
This isn't me. I would never wear my hair like that.
What? What are you talking about? That's clearly you.
No, it's not. It's someone who looks a lot like me. I don't even own clothes like that. Mark, have you ever seen me wear anything like this?
No, I don't think so.
Men's memories when it comes to women's clothing are unreliable. Emily seemed well aware of this and was using it to her advantage. Bold and cunning. No wonder. She's been deceiving men for over 10 years. Regaining her composure, Emily started to go on the offensive.
You might have hired a detective or something, but are you sure they're trustworthy? Maybe you're the one being fooled. No matter what you say, I'm all about Mark. Stop trying to interfere.
First of all, Emily's a successful businesswoman who's so busy that she can hardly ever make it home. There's no way she's married to another guy like you're suggesting, Rachel.
Oh, really? So, Mark, you believe that Emily's a businesswoman? You think you're living in a house she owns and that she's just too busy to come home often? Mark seemed completely convinced by Emily's lies. It's true that the house that he's staying in belongs to Emily. But the idea that she's a businesswoman is a complete fabrication. It's time for a wake-up call. I secretly sent a message to someone. Soon, the doorbell rang, and Michelle went to answer it. I wondered what was being said at the door. Michelle returned quickly. I'll never forget the look of fear on Emily's face when she saw the man Michelle brought in.
David, what are you doing here?
Why am I here? That's my line. Weren't you supposed to be back at your parents' place, Emily?
David was what you'd call a thug. He was known to be quite a scary figure in his hometown. His face was intimidating. He had a strong build, and tattoos peeked out from his neck. If it came to a fight, Mark wouldn't stand a chance. With David glaring at her like a demon, Emily turned pale. She began to tremble.
Don't just stand there silent. Explain yourself, Emily. Why are you here? And who's the guy next to you?
Wait, David. It's not what it looks like.
Then explain exactly what it is. If I'm satisfied, we'll leave it at that. But if not, you better be ready. You know I've got a lot of friends I can count on. I'll have them beat you to a pulp.
Please wait. It's not like that.
The ace up my sleeve was Emily's husband, David Miller. The unexpected appearance left Emily stammering. Contacting David and getting him on my side was a risky move. If I'd shared the information carelessly, there was a chance Emily could have found out. But with all the evidence of the affair in hand, David remained calm and quietly agreed to help me. No matter how Emily tried to spin it now, she wouldn't be able to clear her name. What would Emily do when she was cornered? She acted exactly as I had predicted. She abandoned Mark. Emily stood up, rushed over to David, and started crying. I was so scared.
He's been blackmailing me. He had something on me, and he's been staying at my place, and I couldn't do anything about it.
What? Wait a minute. Me? You're saying I was blackmailing you? For what?
You were after my body and my savings, weren't you? But when I got pregnant with David's child, you decided to stay at my place and take whatever money you could get. Isn't that right?
That's nonsense. What the hell is going on? Who is this guy? Isn't the baby mine?
Mark looked utterly confused, not knowing what to believe. To me, he seemed more pathetic than pitiful. He had betrayed his wife for this woman, only to be betrayed himself. David, on the other hand, was completely unfazed. Emily's tears had no effect on him. I had already shared part of the investigation report with David. Armed with irrefutable evidence, he wasn't about to fall for Emily's lies.
The home you're talking about, Emily, is the one in Texas, right? No, it's the one nearby, the house your relatives gave you. You've been letting this guy stay there, haven't you?
I'm staying at Emily's house, but she bought that house herself. It wasn't given to her by her relatives. Emily's a successful businesswoman who earned the money to buy that house.
Shut up. You're just making things more complicated. Listen closely. You're being played. This woman is a pathological liar. The baby she's carrying is mine, and the houses you've been living in belongs to her relatives. And she's not a businesswoman. She's unemployed, at least since she married me.
One truth after another was revealed. Mark seemed lost, unable to fully comprehend what was happening. His half-open mouth looked pitiful. It was clear he couldn't accept the reality in front of him.
You idiot. I'm gonna make sure you regret laying a hand on my woman. Got it?
What? But I was tricked.
Does that matter? You still did it, didn't you? You better believe you're gonna pay for it. I'll beat you to a pulp and then demand compensation. And you too, Emily, you lying bitch. How dare you betray me?
Wait, I'm sorry. David, it was a mistake. Please, don't be mad.
Emily's pleas fell on deaf ears. David was now in overdrive. He was clearly furious. He seemed ready to call in his buddies and beat up both Emily and Mark right then and there. David shoved Emily toward Mark and glared at them with a terrifying expression.
I'll call your company too. Let them know one of their employees has been cheating. See how they handle that.
Wait, the company has nothing to do with this.
Shut up. I don't care if it's related or not. It's about how I feel. And I won't be satisfied until I ruin your life. And that goes for you too, Emily.
No, please forgive me. I won't do it again.
It was probably because she knew just how scary David could be. Emily was already on the verge of tears. She was desperately begging for forgiveness. It was clear from David's face that her pleas were falling on deaf ears. It would be nearly impossible to calm down or reason with someone this angry. In utter despair, Mark did the unthinkable. He turned to me, seeking help.
Rachel, please help me. Tell him I was tricked by Emily. I wouldn't have touched her if I'd known she was married.
It's too late for that. You did what you did, so now you have to take responsibility. If you're truly sorry, let yourself get beaten up and show it through your actions.
I don't want to get beaten up. Mom, say something. Your son's about to get hurt.
You brought this on yourself. A cheating man has no right to complain. You're just like your father. Take your punishment, apologize sincerely, and learn from this.
With everyone turning their backs on him, Mark slumped in defeat. After that, he apologized to me repeatedly, expressing regret over and over again. But if he thinks I'll believe those words now, he's seriously mistaken. I pushed him away without mercy and didn't engage in any further discussion. I'm going to file the divorce papers now.
What? No way.
Why are you so surprised? You were the one who handed me the divorce papers in the first place.
But the situation has changed. Please wait. I'm sorry. I'll apologize.
He knows what will happen if he gets hit with alimony and his affair gets exposed at work. Most likely, he'll lose his position at the company and his savings. Maybe, just maybe, this could even lead to David and his crew leeching off him. That would be the worst case scenario. If it comes to that, Mark would be stuck as an ATM for David and his buddies for the rest of his life. He realizes this, which is why he's desperately pleading with me and Michelle for help. But it's all too late now. I went ahead and officially divorced Mark. Michelle also cut ties with him. David didn't forgive Emily for her betrayal. After she gave birth, he divorced her, forced her to take on debt for him, and then kicked her out. It seems he forced her into living as a single mother. It's a cruel fate. Emily was stripped of anything valuable she owned and returned to the South with nothing. I just hope that her innocent child can grow up happy in the peaceful surroundings of rural America. As for Mark, his situation was even more tragic. David, being a man of his word, he contacted Mark's workplace about the affair. He even yelled at the CEO, asking, "What kind of employee training do you run here?" The CEO had no responsibility for Mark's infidelity, but he still offered a sincere apology. After that, The CEO called Mark in, confirmed the facts, and scolded him. They say Mark was almost in tears when he was labeled a cheating scumbag in front of all his colleagues. With both the CEO and his co-workers now looking down on him, Mark lost everyone's trust. He lost his credibility and was relegated to a dead-end department, effectively derailing his career. Since he had to cover a significant amount of alimony with loans, quitting wasn't an option. Now he's isolated at work, enduring daily misery. Isn't this an appropriate end for a man who betrayed his wife? Personally, though, I wish Mark would suffer even more than he already has. Mark's unbearably difficult daily life. The one who told me all about it in detail was Michelle. She went out of her way to visit me and apologized again.
I'm really sorry that my foolish son made you go through such a terrible experience and wasted so many years of your life. I don't even know how to properly apologize anymore.
Oh no, Michelle. Please don't worry about it. It's not your fault. I'm okay.
You're right. Rachel, you're strong, and I'm sure you'll be fine. But Rachel, if you'd like, would you be interested in meeting the son of one of my acquaintances? He runs a company. He's divorced but doesn't have any kids, and I think he's about your age.
What? There's someone like that. I'd love to meet him. If it's not too much to ask, could I ask you to play matchmaker, Michelle? Michelle smiled, relieved to see that I seemed to be doing well. After that, I was introduced to my future husband through Michelle. He has a quiet personality, says very little, but he's a kind and gentle man. And since he runs several companies, I don't have to worry about finances at all. I almost feel like I owe my current happiness to Mark's infidelity. Life is full of ups and downs, like a twisted rope. You never know what the future holds. But if there's one thing Mark's example makes clear, it's that an unfaithful life leads to a grim end. Being honest with your partner is an absolute requirement for living a fulfilling life. With that lesson in mind, I plan to continue living a humble and sincere life from now on.